Orica-GreenEDGE controlling the gap at the minute. 11 riders out the front. 2 of them there. Tyler Farrar joining Fabian Wegmann. Ben Swift in the black as well. Bjorn Thurau in the dark green. Those riders in the break to complete the list. Frapporti, Viviani, Rubiano, Farrar, Wegmann, De Haas, Van der Sande, Monsalve, Urel, Thurau and Swift. Almost 4 hours in the saddle. Tony Urel, the sprinter at the front. Some big sprinters in this group. Urel, Swift, Farrar, De Haas, Viviani, all quick men. They were all looking for that intermediate sprint early on. This is Frapporti in the meantime taking some food. Having a chat with Gianni Savio in the car. Out of the back of the peloton, it's several riders going to ask for things whilst the race is still fairly calm. It's certainly not neutralised, thankfully, like it was yesterday, but we're waiting to see what happens with this gap. Tyler Farrar trying to keep it going. Working with Fabian Wegmann here. Annetta Monsalve taking second place on the King of the Mountain sprint. Rubiano taking all 7 points. It's been great to see it hotly contested so far. We've seen that on each and every stage where we've had small ascents. Uphill to the finish today and the same tomorrow. We go to Monte Cassino tomorrow. We'll commemorate the 70th anniversary of the bloody, horrible, hellish battle that so many people lost their lives in the Second World War. A very long day in terms of racing, 247 kilometres then. It's plus 200 here, only for the second time in this Giro so far. And plus 200 for the next few days. I'm waiting for the graphic to see exactly how long we've got to go. Marco Frapporti trying to shake that lactic acid out the legs. Descending from the first climb of the day, the Valico di Serra di San Chirico, all the way down to the roads that lead us to Viggiano. Petrusillo will be our lowest point of around 500 metres before we head off. Still no urgency behind. Gap's coming down on its own, really. A lot of the domestics still around to come back and make sure they get to the car. This is an important part in the race, Sean. With a couple of climbs in succession, there'll be no room for coming back to the car then. Everybody has to make sure they're fed, watered, and all ready for the finale a little earlier today.
Yes, they will. Of course, when we get into that final 20 kilometres, it's not going to be easy to get back to the car and make it to the front of the bunch again. As we see the breakaway, they're starting to break up and attack each other here.
Well, this is Lotte having a go. Tosh van der Sande has launched to go for it, looks around the corner. And we saw the gap coming down to almost 2 minutes. Tosh van der Sande deciding to have a go on his else. And Lotte are here for stage winners. Maxime Montfort will be doing the best he can on the overall, but they're here with stage wins as their goal. Not really fully behind a leader or fully behind a big sprinter. Onde Greipel's not here. Tosh van der Sande, I think, is going to be reeled in. First bit of excitement we've had for a while today. It's all been a little like a very tight chess game.
Yes, it is, and not a great action for the moment. We could see there the time check at 1:20 was the last time check, so it is coming down quite rapidly, and we're still a long way from the finish. And you know, for anybody to go alone here, as we see Tosh van der Sande, is not at all possible. They really need to have to work together, but I think they know, and you know, it's in all their minds that it's not going to happen for them. They've no real chance of holding on here, and it's only just having a go there and try and stay out as long as possible. And Tosh van der Sande is the one who's prepared to have a go, but it looks like that the break have lost heart.
So if the break are going to lose out, our thoughts start to turn to what's going to happen after that, because I think if you're Orica-GreenEDGE, even though they may try to just leave it hanging out a little bit longer, surely they're not going to be happy if it all comes together now, because they're going to have to work extra hard to prevent any more attacks, aren't they?
Well, that is the problem when you come together so early on the on the penultimate climb. It's going to be difficult to control because there's going to definitely riders go in the attack, where if you had the breakaway a minute and a half out in front, it would be a situation which would camp situation back in the peloton. But we can see here immediately they're starting to have a talk here between the riders from Orica-GreenEDGE, and the pace is definitely slowing down at the moment.
Angel Vicioso trying the competition to see how many bottles he can fit in the pockets and the jersey. Many riders having a go each year. Out of necessity, of course, not because they enjoy it. We talked about keeping them all fed and watered and ready. Today it's Angel Vicioso's job. This is Petrosillo we talked about, and there's actually a huge dam here. Spectacular view down the road. And the Agri River. We said we were riding through the Agri Valley, and that Petrosillo dam is what controls the flow of water here. No time again to take into the view, because the racing is just really starting to take shape now. Petrosillo Dam, built it in the 1950s. Heading on our way up to the road to Viggiano, pardon me. 1:22. Kenny de Haas right at the back here in the red for Lotto. We've seen his teammate Tosh van der Sande have a go. Lotto going to have a chat here. I wonder if they'll try again to keep it going somehow. It's not particularly easy either. They're still slightly on this descent to the start of the next climb. Start of the next climb really does begin with around 20 k's to go. Villa d'Agri. So we climb up to Viggiano. Quick descent again. And then the climb up to the finish line at almost 900 meters above sea level. You see the dam lake does reach, adding to the already picturesque countryside. Certainly just change it with the lack of blue sky around. Like Sean and I said very early on in the programme, it's not the habitual view around these parts. Thankfully, the minute as we descend, the roads are dry. Gap just over 1 minute, and we're waiting to see if this will come back together a little quicker than we were expecting. Just over 40 k's to go to the arrival. 1:18 is the gap. And from around 3.5 minutes to under 2 minutes, it came down quite quickly, didn't it?
Yes, it is coming down surprisingly quickly, considering back in the bunch, it doesn't look like they're pushing the pace at all for the moment. But we can see the breakaway. They are taking it slowly on the descent. We could see there a little bit of damp patches, and the riders are being very careful. I think from yesterday's experience, they're all very nervous, and the peloton is not pushing, or the breakaway is not really pushing either.
First medium mountain or medium difficulty stage of this Giro d'Italia. Stage 5 from Taranto to Viggiano. Tomorrow we head to Monte Cassino before another expected sprint day in Foligno on Saturday. Montecopiolo coming up after that. Told me that is Saturday. Foligno Friday. Sestola with an uphill finish, and a first real climb over 1,500 meters on Sunday. One for the GC boys to be alert before the next rest day. And next week, well, we've got the big time trial on the Sirius Mountain Star. Who's going to be modelling these at the end of the day, though? That is the question. The crowd getting their own showing at the minute, the finish line. The dam of Petrosillo once again, as we wait for the racing to be blown apart. Look at the wind again here. It's not just blowing in any one direction, really. You can see there's a slight tailwind stroke crosswind maybe coming into the finish, but it's very blustery, it's moving around, and you can see by the way the advertising hoardings are moving around that it could pose a few problems to anybody who's not strong.
Well, yes, depending on what way it's blowing in. I think the good thing is we have a lot of cover here. We can see a lot of trees about, and where the riders are at the moment, and the train we've been through, a lot of coverage from the wind, and that is you know, a good thing, because at the finish it is blowing very, very strongly. But on the final, when they're really racing, if there's a section where it's open at all, well, it could make it difficult depending on what way they get. If they get a little bit of a side wind at some times when they're really going fast, well, that is going to put some of the riders under pressure, maybe the riders who do not like to have a go on the crosswind. But I don't think we'll see a lot of that today, because we can see the roads, a lot of shelter here.
Let's see how they go to the finish. The good thing for the riders is they're going to get a look at this finish straight away. There's Viggiano. In the meantime, we get a bit of break up and head back to that finish line. Still yet Sabol right at the back of the peloton. Just about the fastest man in this Belkin team, but will need to recover. He's going to have a go in Foligno. Again, realistically, with the likes of Buoni and Viviani, Swift, Matthews sprinting well, even Farah as well, it's going to be a tough ask for him to take a stage. But this is a 21-day stage race. Room for things to happen every day. Now, the pace being put on yet again. Tosh van der Sande has another go. He's already gone out once. Didn't quite work for him. Sustained acceleration, then a shake of the head, and he's realising how hard it is to distance these guys. It's behind Tosh van der Sande. Still in the young rider classification. Back with the peloton. I wonder how the likes of Ulissi are feeling. Pelizzotti, Pirazzi, Battaglin, Pozzovivo, Gasparotto. All those sorts of names who may not be the first contenders to take something right at the top, but certainly a stage at this stage of the Giro d'Italia when not all are being watched. Now then, van der Sande has two friends with him. Bjorn Thorau is one of them. Big giant frame, the German rider. Comes from good cycling stock, and Marco Frapporti in the white as well. Little look around. Not happy with the organisation there, Tosh van der Sande, as we see Nasser Buoni. Buoni now be just thinking about hanging on today, tomorrow, won't he, and thinking of Foligno, the next nailed-on sprint day.
Yes, with the real sprinters will be just thinking of getting through the days today and conserve their energy as much as possible and have another go on the totally flat stages. We can see up front as well, the breakaway is totally unorganised at the moment. We see Tosh van der Sande trying to push on there, but he's been chased down every time, and again we're back to the situation. They're just riding here a little bit, look at each other, and they're not organised at all, and they know that the breakaway has no possibility of staying away, and then you start to lose heart, because what is the point? And some want to go on, of course, just to get as much exposure out of the day as possible, but other ones, I think, want to get pulled back by the peloton and wait for another day.
Chat on the radio with Cameron Meyer there. What do we do? What do we do? Back into the car for Orica-GreenEDGE, who came here looking for stage wins. It's exactly what they've got so far, right in the first stage, and they've had the pink jersey, the white jersey as well. Remember, they're also riding around Italy with the national champions jersey of Italy on the back. Here he is, looking after Michael Matthews, who's gone back to the team car, most probably for the final time in this stage. Again, whilst not too much is happening, this is the time to do this sort of thing. 1 minute and 47, and the gap has grown again. They're just leaving them hanging out there at the minute. Ivan Santaromita, who was escorting Michael Matthews back there, he actually tweeted the other week to say he was disappointed having to spend his birthday away from his family, but it will all be worth it in the end when he could attack the Giro d'Italia. Spent his birthday training at altitude, living the life of solitude at the top of a mountain, but he wanted to attack this race. Michael Matthews there 2 stage wins at the Vuelta a España last season. Seemed to have found the form of his life over the past month or two. Staying with the best on the hillier races. It's time to go again. This time it's Kenny de Haas. Lotto then with obvious preconceived ideas here, Sean, of what they wanted to do if this break gap was coming down and how they wanted to attack it. Looking through their team, look to see if anybody really jumps out as a man who could have a go on this stage. They've had that sort of spring, we mentioned it the other day. They just want to stay upright and finish a bike race, some of them in that team. UC Vickenin comes to the front for Française des Jeux. Finished champion. Michael Matthews back to the car again. Even the director sportive have got one on the act with a pink jersey as well. Can't quite hear the conversation fully. Sort of things are being said, Sean.
Trying to listen in there, but just couldn't get it. Whitey, of course, given the directions to Michael Matthews. I didn't get at all what he's talking about, but I presume it's just, you know, try and leave it hang out there. That minute and a half is a perfect situation, and keep rolling on the front as we've been doing for quite a while, and they have been doing that for a long time. And we could see there, you know, the most recent shots of the front of the peloton. They're just rolling it along. They certainly, you know, after slowing down quite a lot. They've had to slow down, otherwise they just catch the breakaway without even making any effort, and that's what they certainly don't want to do for the moment.
It's not been a particularly fast average today either, has it? The early parts of the stage still 37, 38, 39, I think, after 3 hours, kilometers per hour. All focus on the local boy, though. What's he going to do today? Domenico Pozzovivo. 1 minute and 33 back inside that peloton at the moment. Surely he'll be looking to try and do something, at least attack the race, honour those fans who've put those lovely banners up for him. Quite witty messages as well for the rider from Policoro. Best finishes this year, well, 5th in Liège, 2nd in the overall at Giro del Trentino. 2nd on stage there as well, behind Cadel Evans, the man in stage up to Roncone. Lots of top 10s in Catalonia too. Did okay in Tirreno Adriatico, finished 6th overall. He's had a strong year, has Domenico Pozzovivo so far. 10th in the Tour of San Luis, which is his first race, and beginning his season nice and early. So he is showing form coming into the Giro, Sean.
Yes,
and it'll be interesting to see how it goes today.
Yes, he's showing good form. A lot of very good places. A stage victory here now would be nice for him in the earlier part of the Giro. You know, it would settle things down within the team as well, and then if he can do that in the earlier days, then just follow the race until we get into the real difficult terrain in the final week and try and have a real go for something in general classification.
Well, Pozzovivo hasn't had a win since he won stage 3 of the Tour of Slovenia in June 2012. Has had a Giro d'Italia stage win, that was back in May of the same year, up at Lago Laceno. Stage 8 of the Giro then, his first Giro and his first and only World Tour win as a professional. Has won several stages in the Giro Trentino, the Brixia Tour as well, Settimana Lombarda, all the way back in 2009 when he was a young professional. Now, of course, 31 years of age, Pozzovivo. He is a Lucano, as they call the inhabitants of this area. Basilicata, a more modern name for the region, historically called Lucania. 33.9 kilometers to go. We're going to go off for a break before we see any big action up the front. At the moment, the gap is at 1 minute and 33 seconds. Cadel Evans going back to the cars on his first wavy stage, the undulating stage of the Giro d'Italia. Viggiano, a finishing stage for the first time. On our way into a town that was completely destroyed by an earthquake in the last century. Also severely damaged in 1980 as well. Cadel Evans hoping to avoid damage in these first few stages of the Giro d'Italia. Orica-GreenEDGE still controlling. That happening just a couple of minutes ago. Cameron Myers doing a lot of work for the team had been expected to be the main man to have a go. If anybody was going to try and hang in there for a top 20 placing or so at the end of the Giro, but lost a lot of time already after a crash to Dublin. 31.3 kilometres to go. It's just been quite a quiet moment. They realised that they had the break ready and waiting, almost catchable at any minute they wanted. A break of 11 out there. 1 minute 55, they've allowed the gap to go out again, and you get the feeling here, Sean, that we're just waiting till around 20 kilometres or so to go, the climb to start, and then that's when they'll really start to reel them in and the racing will begin.
Yes, they have been making the calculation for a long time, and it's been a relatively quiet day for everybody. Orica-GreenEDGE, of course, you know, they have been controlling all day, so it's been one of the more difficult days for them. You know, the stage, quite a long one as well, over 200 kilometres. But in the last 30-40 kilometres they have it relatively easy. They're just rolling on the front of the bunch, sometimes knocking the pace off to allow the breakaway to hold on out there. And now the question is, what will happen on the first on the next climb? The first, before we get to go through the finish town for the first time, will we see some attacks? Because it is possible to pull back this break very quickly, and there is surely and hopefully there are some riders in there who will go on the attack, and they'll not wait till the final climb of the day, because otherwise it was going to drag out here, and it's not exciting racing for the moment. Certainly it hasn't been for a long time today, so we need somebody in some of the maybe the smaller teams to go in the attack on the first time up this climb before we go through the finish area to go on to the final climb of the day.
30 kilometres remain. Back with a breakaway. Breakaway of 11 riders. Frapporti of Androni Giocattoli, the Italian. Elia Viviani, Italian sprinter for the team in green from Cannondale. Miguel Angel Rubiano, the Colombian champion there. Tyler Farrer, the American sprinter, and Fabian Wegman, the German all-rounder for Garmin Sharp. Kenny de Haas and Tosh van der Sande, the Belgian sprinters for Lotto Belisol. Of course, out there as well, Frenchman Tony Urel, the German Bjorn Thurau, running for the French team Europe Cup. Jonathan Monsalve, Venezuelan rider, climber, who's hoping to have a go at the Mountains classification at some time in this race for Neri Sottoli. And Ben Swift completing the 11-man lineup as well. Orica-GreenEDGE having to chase. Svein Toft, Canadian multiple national time trial champion, comes to the front of the race. Pozzovivo making his way back. Pozzovivo fans waiting for their home rider right at the finish line. Now, I wonder if Fabian Cancellara is watching this stage at home somewhere, wherever he is around the world. It's funny because his family originally come from Basilicata, the Swiss rider. Italian family links down the years, of course. Cancellara himself, a Swiss German speaker, also fluent in Italian, and his family from this Basilicata region. Tyler Farrer at the front. Ben Swift there wearing 199 at the back. 99 is Fabian Wegman. And 113, Kenny de Haas, we saw him attacking a moment ago. As you can see, reeled back in with 28.8 kilometres to go. The good news is, in terms of the weather, we know that it's localised, that it can change any minute, but the clouds seem to have lifted ever so slightly since we were starting to worry about an hour ago. No rain spots on the finish line at the minute. The sun is out, and little spots of blue sky around as well. Remember, what will stay and what won't change is the wind. Cadel Evans, I think, will be happy to get in, stay safe, and move on to tomorrow. Is that right, Sean?
Yes, I think Cadel Evans and many others, the general classification men, you know, they survived yesterday, which could have been a very a dramatic day if they had raced, and again today they just want to get in here, and when you get onto the final climb, well, then it changes the situation, you know. And around an 8-kilometre climb, if you're in there in the end, and depending on what happened in this first time up the climb to Viggiano, and you get onto the final one of the day, the last number of kilometres, we could see the likes of Cadillac and Evans going to attack, because he is one of the general classification men who is, you know, not far off in the overall at the moment because of a good team time trial from BMC in the opening stage back in Ireland. But it you know, it depends on what way the race will develop. looking at the moment, with the break out there, 120 at the moment, and the man who wanted the break to survive, I think, is the Colombian rider Miguel Rubiano Chavez, because in the mountain classification, if he can stay out here and get the next mountain classification maximum points, well, he will, really the big beneficiary of the day.
He certainly will be a huge beneficiary if he can get there to the end and take all of those points. 1 minute and 36 to last, properly timed gap there with 30 kilometres to go. I said there's plenty of history in this region, rather like yesterday in Puglia. Just about every civilization, certainly over land and sea, down the centuries and down the millennia, in fact, have been around here. Basilicata actually once belonged to the Kingdom of Naples. Neapolitan influence over this region, and as well down the road in Calabria as well. Skirt around Calabria tomorrow and go up into Campania. Certainly a quick trip through Lazio the day after as well. Lazio, the region that contains Rome, which is the Italian capital. For much of the world's history, capital of the world, remember. Capital of the Giro this year, Trieste. That's where we'll finish this race, after the big start in Northern and then the Republic of Ireland. Teams staying together, looking after each other for the moment. Orica-GreenEDGE still the team having to do the riding. Sean, if it does come down to a moment where we see a few general classification people looking for a bit of luck today, the consequences of some of those, like Evans or Uran, who are at the top, winning the stage, maybe grabbing a few seconds, would be them perhaps even moving into the pink jersey, given the fact that they're close enough and they'll have bonus seconds as well. If you're a big team with a big leader, do you want the responsibility to have to ride with the pink jersey so early in the race?
Not necessarily. I think they'll be trying to hold off and leave somebody else take control of the race, but it's a difficult one. If you're feeling good, you're in there in a group of 20-30 riders in the end, and you're getting into that final 2 or 3 kilometres. If you go for an attack there at that point, well, you're not going to pay the price if you really suffer in the end. So it's, as a rider, it's difficult to hold off. If the feeling is really good and you feel that, yes, you're capable of going into the attack, it's difficult not to do it. But again, now they make the calculation with the director sportif, and the directors can see all what's happening on the TV screens, and they will be, I suppose, telling the riders, what to do. And sometimes I think the director sportif would be giving the orders, don't attack, because we don't want to get into a situation where we have to control the race for the next number of days. But yeah, depending on your rider, some riders are impossible when they, the adrenaline is flowing, you get into the very final, impossible really to hold them from attacking.
It's a funny balance to make, isn't it? Of course, you have to remember you're in a race and the objective is to do well in it, but as well, you have to think ahead a little. 3 weeks, this Giro d'Italia, and you don't want to tire your resources out. There's Johnny Hogeland in the number 25 in the Dutch Champions jersey, riding for the Italian Pro Continental team. Androni Giocattoli. It was his birthday yesterday, as we said. And we focused a moment ago, whilst you were talking about that balance, Sean, on Domenico Pozzovivo, the home rider that is being watched by the home television. They want him to do something today. Came through the amateur ranks with Panaria, then moved to CSF Colnago teams. He's been at Age d'Azur since the start of last season, 2013. Now in a French team. Had always ridden in Italian teams before that. Very, very small bike rider indeed. Just 1.65 meters tall. As we said, lots of great placings during his career in both one-day hilly races, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. The other week we mentioned a 5th place. He's previously been as good as 6th in the Tour of Lombardy, the Giro di Lombardia. Best finish on a Giro d'Italia was in 2012 when he came 8th. Best stage race general classification, 6th. And a quick look there at Manuel Belletti, a former teammate of his at Age d'Azur. Had that nasty fall the other day on the way into Dublin. All the right leg with the gauze and the bandages on, and he's probably got tomorrow to try and just get to the finish line again, and who knows, he may well be feeling better enough to have a real go at Foligno with the sprint stage on Friday. We shall see for Belletti. So here we go for Porti, attacking on the left-hand side, the latest one to go for it. Breakaway really trying to do their best to put the hammer down. Another one of the Lotto riders on the right swings across. Oh, there's a lot of indecision there, Sean. If they carry on like this, even with the breakaway, or probably even with the peloton not trying behind, they're going to catch them quickly.
Yes, and we have seen minute advantage for the breakaway, and it is a killer of a road here. You know, it looks like it's more of a headwind than anything else, and as we've seen for so long now, the breakaway, they're just not working together at all. They're just attacking each other, and it's just going on and on. And I think the one who feels he's losing out here, as I mentioned, Viggiano, he would be hoping that they'd ride a bit better together and hold a nice advantage, but it doesn't look like they're going to hold on to the next mountain GP classification, as we see the bunch, you know, are just going to just pull them back without making really any effort whatsoever.
We start the climb again soon when we get to Villa d'Agri. This is a small drag at the minute, and as Sean said, bit of a headwind. Hard work for everybody. Maglia Rosa group means that everybody's together. The pink jersey is in there. Gruppo Maglia Rosa, and when we came together we used to have Gruppo Compatto, didn't we, when they had the Italian graphics. Now the Giro's opened up to the world, and this is our four-man group at the front of the race. Turao is there, Monsalve as well. Van der Sande behind, goes off to the right in the red, the Belgian. Porti at the back, 25 kilometres to go. The break has broken into a group of 4 and a group of 5. These 4 currently leading the race. Quinziato and Os come to the front to escort Cadel Evans. Scarponi on Evans' wheel as well. Giorgio Cecchinelli on the right-hand side in the luminous yellow. We saw him in the break the other day. Peloton have the break inside, gapping around a minute. Riding through the Agri Valley at the moment in Basilicata, central southern region of Italy, just under the heel of the boot where it touches both the Tyrrhenian and the Ionian Sea. 25 k's to go, bunch all together. The pace really hasn't been high at all today. Break looked worrying and strong with 11 men at the start, but it's been hard for them to stay out. It was a break that was full of sprinters, the likes of Farah, Swift, Viviani, De Haas and Urel all present. And in the meantime, again, this is what's left of it. Slowing down almost completely now. It's a funny situation at the minute because the peloton don't really want to catch them yet, but the front, it almost seems like, save 1 or 2 riders, they're not too bothered about staying out.
No, there's a lot of riders not too bothered about pushing on here, and it's been the case for so long. And back in the peloton, you know, they have to knock off the pace. And again, we can see here, you know, inside 25 kilometres, getting not too far away from the next climb of the day. Nobody pushing on at any rate at all. You know, a very compact group of riders all across the road here, and that tells us that the headwind, I think, is the killer there for the breakaway. That's you know, making it very difficult for the breakaway to get organised. And when they go in the attack, of course, we can see there that you know, nobody really wanting to commit themselves. Tosh van der Sande, I think, from Lotto Belisol, he's the one who's really want to push on, but other than that, the rest, they just seem to want to go back and be pulled in by the main peloton.
Well, Tosh van der Sande is a rider who on this Giro d'Italia might not get many chances to ride for himself, hence the reason he wants to do here. He's here to help Kenny De Haas in the sprints, and of course Lotto are here to look for stage wins. Now look at that in the base of your picture, Sean, behind the helicopter. It's black cloud. That's a big rain cloud. You can see it sweeping across the valley. Unfortunately, it's where we're headed.
Yes, well, it looks like we're going straight into it, and as we've seen earlier on the day, you know, the rain at the finish, the descent not looking good, dried off, you know, really well here, and of course with the wind, when it stopped raining, the bit of warmth here, it dries off very quickly, but not looking good here, you know, at the moment. A big black cloud hanging there exactly to the point where they're going.
Heading into Viggiano today. Started out in Taranto. And you can see 7 of those 11 men that were in the break are about to be caught. This is the 4 that are up there. That's Tosh van der Sande, the aforementioned rider from Lotto, the Belgian. Coming through in the luminous yellow is Jonathan Monsalve of Venezuela. Bjorn Thorau, son of Didi Thorau, of course, the German, riding for a French team, Europe car. And coming through, Marco Frapporti as well, who, wearing those Androni colours, is almost obliged to attack the race. 7 of the 11-man breakaway are absorbed. They are Rubiano in the Colombian champions jersey. He's not going to go into the King of the Mountains jersey today. Both of the Garmin riders being absorbed as well. Farah and Wegman Swift, as is Elia Viviani and Tony Urel. They're the 4 that are left. 22.8 k's to go. Just look at how strong that wind is. Real illustration there with the huge old trees being blown away. And it is very much a bit of a headwind going towards the riders. Megafarmer Quick Step at the front now. Some strong rouleurs to combat this. Giant Shimano. Patrick Gretsch present for Age Desert as well. Could have an important job in controlling things at the front if Domenico Pozzovivo wants to attack at any point. Monsalve at the back. We're waiting for a time gap. Frapporti, Monsalve, van der Sande and Thorau. 22.2. And you can just see it's getting very, very dark. I hope those on the side of the road have brought the brollies along.
And as we take a right here, we can see that the wind is going to be a little bit more coming from the left-hand side. And we can see the teams who are appearing on the front. Omega Pharma Quick Step, of course. This will make everybody nervous here, because if one team really push on here with the side wind at the moment, we could see some problems back in the peloton. We could see riders starting to lose a bit of ground.
Could there be a split for and in favour of Rigoberto Urán? We shall see. Belgian teams very much used to riding in crosswinds, of course, and it is something that for the classics that a Megafarmer Quick Step train at and deal with well. This is Villa d'Agri. This is where we begin our climb. The amphitheatre of Grumento, very much of note in this area. Hannibal and his Carthaginian army have been through here throughout the years. And of course, those remains of the Roman amphitheatre, the focal point of the town. "46 seconds, we're waiting for that gap. 21 kilometres left. Giant come to the left-hand side. I wonder how Zimongeski is feeling. Frapporti on the right-hand side. Just in a chat with Bjorn Thorau. Look at the crowds out here, absolutely fantastic. I said that the Giro doesn't always, or very often at all, pass through Basilicata. And this is the climb. 350 metres in difference, all the way up to 948 metres. Average gradient of 4.7%, a maximum of 8%. It's the first test towards the finish of an uphill on this Giro d'Italia. Paolini on the left in the red and white. Nice to see the traffic islands being signalled out by a few of the riders more alert at the front. We're going to get an official time check again here. It's gone down, we're talking 36 seconds now. It's going to be hard to maintain this on the climb, Sean.
Yes, very difficult, and I think the way the riders are looking up front, you know, even with the 4 out, they're starting to have a discussion once again. They know that it's only a matter of time and how long the bunch is going to allow them hang out there. I think it will make him probably a bit more nervous on the first time up this climb.
24 seconds and it's breaking up again. Monsalve sits up. It's going to be Thorau to drag them on. Frapporti's already gone. And we're already seeing a bit of a gruppetto forming at the back. Oh, and he's called it. Bernie Eisel's right in there as well. Those who aren't too bothered about getting caught up in the battles at the front, just want to ride in inside the time limit, are going to do so. Bozic is in there as well, the fast man for Astana. And there is Marco Fraporti giving us a wave. Good ride in the break today. 17.3 to go. And Alexej Pataki, the La Spezia Express, doing some work on the front as Bjorn Tural tries to keep things going for the two men left that are up the front. And as I say that, let's just talk about the one man who remains, Bjorn Tural. 17.2 Ks to go. He's going to be the last one to hang out today. Strange break ever since it went, as a few more riders roll off, and we're seeing this, Sean, right on the first ascent. The group, I think, if it's raced at this big pace here, is going to whittle down quite quickly.
Yes, well, it's racing at a good pace at the moment, but again, when we get onto the climb, into the steeper sections, that is the question: will somebody, prepare to go on the attack? A lot of the time, they race into the climb to get good position to keep their general classification men up there, but then it starts to slow down when they get into the serious or the most steeper part of the climb. So there's no guarantee that this will continue on, but with nobody out in front, I think there's a bit more incentive for some guys to go on the attack, and hopefully they will. I think with the wet conditions as well, some guys will be thinking, well, I have to get ahead of the bunch here to get onto the ascent if they're not good ascenders, if they're nervous in the wet conditions.
Padaki's been riding strong on the front. Peter Serra now takes over. Gianluca Brambilla just behind him. Spots of rain on the lens. We're seeing the solitary figure of the solitary man still in the break, Bjorn Tural. No wins to his name as a professional. Rider from Frankfurt am Main in Germany. Oh, we've had problems at the back. A couple of riders caught out. One has gone down. The rider is from Tinkoff Saxa. I can tell you that it's Evgeny Petrov who's gone down. Problems as well for one of the Movistar riders. Please tell me that wasn't Nairo Quintana. Thankfully it wasn't. It was the number 125 Jonathan Castroviejo. Down as well for Colombia, Edwin Avila, their sprinter. And we're seeing problems for Agi Dessert, Matteo Montaguti. Again, no disrespect to the riders involved, but thankfully it wasn't one of the big men we're hoping to see in the overall or in big action today. First illustration shown of the problems that can happen when it's all a bit bunched up at the back and the road narrows.
Yes, and I think it's very bunched up at the moment. As they lead onto the climb, we can see here where the problem did arise. Riders trying to move up on the side, certainly 30-35 places back, and a little bit of a bend, probably tightened up a bit, and the peloton we're hearing is split in two, but I think most of the favourites are at the good end of the split.
Hence the reason you want to be up the front all the time, just looking to see if anyone's caught out. And Yoli's there again, he's having some awful luck. Can't see Scaraponi, which must be the good news that he is up the front. Now, looking out towards the back, these are the riders that are getting distance. Jussi Vaikkonen, we've seen Arashiro as well. Well, with Bjorn Tural, who is Arashiro's teammate for Europcar. BMC setting the pace now on the front of the bunch. There was a Lotto rider at the back there. Wait to see who it was. Again, you wouldn't expect it to be Maxime Montfort. I hope not. Seem to see 111, but we'll wait to confirm that. 15.7 kilometres to go. Riders out the way, so hard to see here between the spots on the lens and, of course, our picture breakup.
Yes, we could see the Team Sky rider, Philip Dignan, as well. He was behind the crash there. We just see the shot of his group, which is trying to make it back to the front of the peloton, but a lot of groups here, and the problem is there's some riders, just leave and go here. They're going to get into the bus, as they call it, the gruppetto, and other riders want to get back after the hold up with the crash.
Gruppetto here on the Giro, Autobus over in the Tour. Big group of sprinters to you and I, who are going to try and help each other get towards the end inside the time limit. They shouldn't have a problem for that today. They'll want to be careful though and safe as we go past the vineyards on our way up here to Viggiano. Winding climb. It's the descent that's more technical. Bjorn Tural. Now, we're hearing on race radio that the road and the descent is extremely dangerous. And if the race organisers are warning teams and riders about that, Sean, then they mean it, don't they?
Yes, and you know, it's going to be over race radio. It's something that they know for a long time. I think they have looked at the stage, and when you look at the route book as well, you know, it does say that, you know, a very technical, challenging descent, and that's going to make director sporties and then riders, of course, via race radio, they're going to be telling the guys you have to stay in the top 10 riders today because of the descent. You know, keep our man in front, and that's what we're seeing for quite a while now. A lot of teams moving up, and that's the reason also we see the little bit of tighten up in the crash.
Domenico Pozzovivo in that back group. No. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Edvald Boassenhagen up there as well, but Pozzovivo, one of the favourites for today, and also he's got to look after that general classification placing. He'll be looking at that top 10, as Sean said, maybe an outsider for the podium if he climbs well and goes well on the mountain time trial. Not a favourite on the flat one, of course, far from it, but he's in the back group at the minute, and it just shows you that even on a day like this where it's nervous, nothing else for the GC boys, they really shouldn't be losing too much time to anybody. A little split in the peloton, a crash here and there, it all counts, and it can all cause problems. Bjorn Thural, 1.1 kilometres away from the finish line. Remember, after that, the climb continues the first time around. We climb to the top of the village. That is where the King of the Mats points will be awarded. Bjorn Thural isn't going to take them. He's going to be absorbed by this chasing peloton. And with him riding out there all day, not really having to ride to a good general classification position, he'll just stay with them for as long as he can, but suggest he might drift off. There's Ivan Santaromita, the Italian champion. A little distance at the moment. Alessandro Genier just behind him. He's a man they're hoping that will ride well in the Giro d'Italia Française de Jeu. Disappointing if he loses ground here. Most of the favourites at the front. A couple in a second group down the road, one of which is Domenico Pozzovivo. A couple of Age d'Isère riders coming back to have a look. Hubert Dupont on the right-hand side there. And here he is, he's come to collect Domenico Pozzovivo, put him back in the group. Remember, there's a descent to go. There is another climb, so he's not out the reckoning for today. That is not Samuel Sanchez. That was the rider a little further behind. And again, BMC won't particularly want Samuel Sanchez to lose time either, will they?
No, surprising to see him back there because, you know, we see the team up front, BMC, there's quite a few riders here, controlling pace on the front, and Samuel Sanchez possibly also back in the peloton. He was held up a little bit with that crash, so maybe making his way in here, but, you know, he needs to get a bit closer because he is a one I think BMC and Carol Evans will be hoping to be there on the very end.
Pozzovivo, Santaromita and Sanchez making their way back to the peloton. We're going to come across the line for the first time here. All slowed down. A little Ivan Basso in the green, riding right in the centre of your picture. Dario Cataldo up there for Team Sky. Nicholas Roach being protected. All the main favourites are now here. We've seen Joaquim Rodriguez as well. There is Sanchez right at the back, making his way back on now. It's technical descent time after we come through the finish line. There are King of the Mountains points available first. One lap of the town as we come through the finish. And then it's the same climb again, except it ends when we cross the line. They've had one look at it. They've seen it's wet. Before they think about the stage win, though, Sean, I think they'll be worried about the descent. Will anybody be daring enough to take it on off the front and have a go on this descent?
I doubt it very much. You know, we know the roads the way they are here, and with such a long way to the finish, first of all you have to get down the descent, and then you have to do the 8-kilometre climb once again, so highly unlikely we'll see anybody pushing. I think it will be safety with the thing on the minds, and I think we should see the peloton going down at a very cautious pace.
Viggiano making its debut as a host of a stage in the pink race, the Giro d'Italia. It's been an interesting stage in terms of what might have happened. It hasn't quite blown up like we hoped it would do so far. A lot of nervous racing, a lot of waiting for this moment. Just so happens that yet again, at this moment, the rain has decided to come down. The heavens have opened. The roads are very wet, and rather like yesterday, although the good news is this is not an inner city centre circuit. They won't be racing at crazy speeds around a corner trying to set up a sprint, but we have a very technical descent with 7 hairpins at least on the way down. There's Scarponi at the front. Uran is there as well. Scarponi on his own for his Astana team. Alongside him is Dario Cataldo. In fact, it's almost the leaders, barring 1 or 2 helpers, that have gone to the front here and are riding right on the front row. Everybody wants to stay out of trouble. Joaquim Rodriguez, 181, is there as well. Maxime Montfort is at the front, thankfully. Danny Moreno on the right-hand side, making his way up to the front for Purito Rodriguez for me. There is the categorized climb. Number 24 there is Yonder Godoy. So the descent about to begin. We descend down to around 300 meters less than the altitude we have at the moment, 600, 650 meters. This is Viggiano, famous for its Madonna Nera di Viggiano sanctuary, popular for those making pilgrimages. There's also a ski resort just up the hill as well. Three points Van Helbicioso, 2 for Joaquim Rodriguez and 1 for Michele Scarponi. I doubt they are worrying too much for the moment about the King of the Mountains competition, though. All of those involved, apart from Angel Vicioso at the top, thinking GC. Riccardo Zoidl at the back. Climber will be wanting to do a good Giro d'Italia. Mikel Landa as well, doesn't want to lose placing. Remember, the higher up everybody is in each of the GC men's teams, certainly the climbers, the stronger they're going to be in the mountains. Oh, we're hearing that Enrico Gasparotto's gone down. Enrico Gasparotto, who if he'd stayed up, he would have been very, very close, certainly one of the faster men there, but all happening out there at the minute. Enrico Gasparotto was already on the ground during the stage to Dublin. We are hearing has hit the tarmac here at the moment. No images as of yet. This is very, very dangerous on the way down. Luca Paolini right back at the back. In front of him, Mikel Landa in the light blue for Astana, the Kazakh team. The Basque rider riding for them. We're all a bit nervous up here. This is how it finished again. Ulissi coming from a long way back. Both he and Niemiec rode up together. Ulissi then getting onto the wheel of Michael Matthews, who was in the pink jersey. This after Nicholas Roach had started proceedings. And look at this from Cadel Evans. A big, big ride from him, Sean.
Yes, he was quite a few places off and made the move. Had to make the move a bit early, and we could see just get himself into a good position. But Ulissi, when he takes it up, he was the strongest. Arredondo also struggling, and Joaquim Rodriguez really having difficulty in the final, 50, 70 meters to the line.
Ulissi, who won a stage on his Giro d'Italia debut in 2011. He had it awarded to him following a fight with Visconti on the line. Then this time he takes it all on his own. Ulissi with the hands in the air and winning wonderfully in the end for Lampre. Arredondo in the black behind the Colombian, on the left-hand side in the red and black, the former world champion Cadel Evans. He gets some very important bonus seconds as one of the favourites. Uran coming in fourth. Roach over the line. This is our winner of the day, Diego Ulissi.
We didn't see too much of you today, but that was timed absolutely perfectly.
Sì, diciamo che mi sono nascosto tra virgolette tutto il giorno.
I managed to hide myself in inverted commas for most of the day.
Era una tappa ventosa.
It was a difficult day. It was very, very windy. Of course, you had the rain as well. And of course, I tried to position myself well, and luckily I managed to do it. Here he is sprinting away to the win. Hit himself so well that he was right behind his big Polish teammate, and we didn't see him until the last moment. It was he who attacked, and he came out excellently well, Diego Ulissi. Well, Michael Matthews, we questioned him when he said that he could win today. We have to give him credit because he was right up there in that final sprint in the end.
Yes, have to give him credit, and he also had to close down. There was a little bit of a gap appeared, 4 or 5 bike lengths, and he was the one who closed the gap across to the group of Joaquim Rodriguez with Ulissi in his wheel, and so he played well, and that's what you've got to do in this sort of sprint. Just hold off as long as possible. But when he took up the sprint, Ulissi was, the strongest, and 4 or 5 bike lengths of an advantage at the finish.
It was indeed Ulissi and Evans who both came off that wheel of Michael Matthews as he was closing the gap. And this is the result of the day. Ulissi, a second difference between him and the rest coming over the line. Evans, Arredondo, Uran, Maika, Matthews, Rodriguez, Kelderman up there, with Pozzovivo making it back into the top 10 on home roads, with Nairo Quintana up in 10th as well. We weren't sure if today was going to be the day or not where we'd see the GC boys have a first little poke at each other. It's turned out to be that way, and we've seen some very, very good signs.
Yes, we've seen a little bit of a show of the guys who are going to go on and try and win this Giro. I think Michael Matthews, he did a real good job today. We did talk about, he was mentioned to go for the stage victory, but holding on to the pink jersey, I think that is a real strong performance from him, considering he's a very young rider, and he's up here with the riders who are great climbers. He did a magnificent job to hold on to pink jersey.
Diego Ulissi there. Will he now be the man to lead this Lampre team? Michael Matthews holds on to pink. The former pink jersey wearer Peter Veining is now up in 2nd place. Cadel Evans up to 3rd. Evans 15 seconds off the lead, but the best of the big favourites. Rigoberto Uran, Rafa Maika, Boasson Hagen did a very good ride today. Another solid day for Nico Roach.